Jane Adventures Eye of the Gorgon, the second story of Series 1, is written by Phil Ford and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Yasmin Page, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony and Alexander Armstrong. So the first part begins at Lavender Lawns, the local nursing home. A mysterious nun who appeared and disappeared, which woke Mrs. Randall and freaked her out. I think Doreen Mantle is great in this. Edith Randall, before she was a resident of Lavender Lawns, she lived next to Clyde's grandmother. Back in 1951, she won the title of Miss Elan. Because she didn't want to leave the house, her children Mark and Jenny argued because they're worried about her, so she gave up and decided to move Lavender Lawns. So Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde visit to her to ask her about the mysterious nun. It's really terrifying, especially when you get stories in films like these. So Chrissy decides to move back into Alan's house because her boyfriend Ivan spent too much time in the office. So Carlos, a salsa teacher, taught Chrissy how to dance. When Ivan found out about it, he has a fight with Carlos, so Chrissy was having none of it. Maria was pleased to see her mum back, but not for long because she says horrible things about Sarah Jane and Luke. I understand if you want to protect their daughter, but keeping away is because they're weird is horrible. And I can understand why Maria was upset and ran off. Sadly, her anger took it on Alan as well. So while Luke sees an old lady called Bea Nelson Stanley who lives in Lavender Lawns as well, she often thought of her dead husband and suffered from Alzheimer's disease. She decided to give Luke Talisman, a necklace that was used by the Gorgons, and apparently it's a portal key in space and time. Bea wanted Luke to promise her not to tell anyone about Talisman, and because of her condition, she couldn't explain. And yet the Order of the Nuns were hiding the ancient creature the Gorgon, the intelligent parasitic beings that possessed their hosts around 1000 BC. 3 Gorgons arrived Earth with Talisman. One of them was killed by a Greek hero, another by Bea and her husband, Professor Nelson Stanley, in 1959. The third, also known as the Abbess, managed to survive and possess the body of an abbess and led the Sisterhood of Nuns at St. Agnes Abbey, manipulating the nuns' minds to serve it. So Clyde was disappointed the fact the old people wanted Sarah Jane doing chores like moving items on top shelf and stuff. In the bit where Mrs. Gribbins and a nun behind the tree watching Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde leaving with the scary music is really suspense. I think Sarah Crowden as Mrs. Gribbins, who's in charge of Lavender Lawns, did so well playing the character. At the attic, after Sarah Jane asks Mr. Smith about the ghost in Lavender Lawns, Mr. Smith revealed that Luke has brought an alien device, so Sarah Jane confronted him and he explained that he had to keep it a secret. The way Alan speaks to Chrissy about leaving him and Maria then showing up is understandable. Every action has a consequences. So after Mrs. Gribbins tells Sister Helena that Luke and Clyde has got the talisman given by Bea, she gets sent to a room where Abbess is and gets turned into a stone. Funny enough, Medusa was one of the 3 Gorgons that arrived on Earth during humanity's early history, and the Doctor and Zoe once met Medusa in the Land of Fiction in the episode The Mind Robber. We found out Bea's husband once met the Suntaurans and thought they're silly, and yes, Sarah Jane has met one twice before in the Time Warrior and the Suntauran Experiment, which shows that Bea has knowledge about alien life. I think Beth Goddard as Sister Helena is great, as she arrived at Sarah Jane's house asking about the talisman, but then Alan came and thought she's an ordinary nun, so he donates their cause, asking Clyde and Luke if they see Maria tell her that he's looking for her, then left. Bea tells Sarah Jane and Maria that the nuns mustn't find the talisman because they protect the Gorgon. While they looked at books of 3 Gorgons, Luke gets dragged by Helena into the hearse and drove off to St. Agnes Abbey.
Talisman is dangerous. More than you can imagine. No way!
Sadly, Clyde couldn't stop them, so he phoned Sarah Jane on what happened, so they arrived at St. Agnes Abbey. Sarah pretended to be someone else to go in and gets locked up in the library. At least Luke reunites with Sarah Jane. The scene where Clyde and Maria found Mrs. Gribbins as a statue and the abbess appearing is really scary. While Clyde and Luke stays at St. Agnes Abbey, Sarah Jane and Maria gets taken to Bannerman Road, so Sarah had to pick up Talisman. Eleanor explains to Maria that Abbess doesn't need to speak. While she's guessing that she's like telepathic, Sarah Jane uses her sonic lipstick on Talisman, asking them to let Luke and Clyde go or she'll destroy it. but Abbess unveiled herself, so while Sarah Jane and Maria looked away, Eleanor snatched the talisman off her, but then Alan walks in and he got turned into a stone, which left Maria terrified. So the nuns and the Gorgons left, and I can understand how Maria felt when she's saying it's Sarah Jane's fault and wishing that she never met her and the aliens. It's heartbreaking to watch, and the acting is well done. Eye of the Gorgon Part 2 is actually the very first Sarah Jane Adventures episode I've seen in my life, and for some reason I didn't watch it on live, unfortunately. When I first watched it, it was after Doctor Who Series 4, because I recognised Luke and Mr. Smith, but I didn't know Maria and Clyde at the time. I was only 9 or 10, and I remembered not liking it at first, but then I'm like, Sam, it's a Sarah Jane spin-off. You can't expect the Doctor to appear in every episode. So then I appreciated it, and then I absolutely loved it. So Luke looks at the book for history lesson, and Clyde has no idea what he's doing until he managed to open the secret passage. I like the chemistry between Luke and Clyde. You can tell they're best friends. In the scene where the nuns surrounded Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde saying serve the Gorgon is quite intense, because you have no idea what they're going to do. It's also scary seeing few statues of people in the garden. So while Chrissy sees Alan's statue, Sarah Jane gets taken to Abbess. The nuns try to open the portal for Gorgon. When she's about to get turned into a stone, Maria came in time to use B's mirror to backfire Abbess' power and finally got turned into a stone. When I first saw that scene, that statue of Abbess reminds me of Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. So Maria uses talisman to turn Alan back to normal. It's really funny when he said he must have dozed off in Sarah Jane's garden. Poor Chrissy, who mentions that she saw a statue of Alan, but they're all like, we don't know what you're talking about. So in the end, Chrissy gets back with her boyfriend Ivan. Maria returns talisman to B, and she hears her husband's voice and gave her peace. So yeah, I really enjoyed Eye of the Gorgon. What do you guys think of this story? Did you watch it on live? Feel free to drop it down in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time.